I don't often do follow-up videos, but yesterday's review of the RokBlok has drawn enough attention for me to warrant putting this video together just to clear up some issues that people had. The first one was, a lot of people thought I was playing the record at the wrong speed. Well, let me demonstrate what it would have sounded like at the wrong speed. Quite a few people wanted to hear the same track being played through the RokBlok and then through a standard turntable for a comparison. So let's do that now. Right, so I think that covers that one off. One thing I should say is the footage I was using there was taken directly from yesterday's video, from the original review. That was the footage of the RokBlok. This now I've shot today, and this is the record being played back through a Sony PSQ7. One thing I did think about this particular record, though, is it's a lathe-cut record. It does seem to have quite narrow grooves, and perhaps that exacerbates the issues that the RokBlok was having playing it. Although, I've got to say, this record did play fine on all the other turntables in the house. Now, the next thing is something I realised after I'd put the video together, and it was the reason why it had set off and driven across my record the first time I used it rather than round it. And it's because the front wheel will go at this angle if you hold it from that side, which means it takes a sharp left as soon as it sets off. You need to hold it from the other side so that the stylus goes straight and the wheel goes straight, and then it points straight and drives around your record rather than across it. Now, something about that stylus I need to mention. It is a normal diamond stylus, but it's being driven in an unusual direction. Quite a few people pointed this out. Rather than being pulled, it's being pushed into the record. You can see here the stylus is going the opposite way, really, to how it would normally go on a record. It's driving into the groove rather than being dragged along it. And you've got to wonder how that affects the performance. Now, the next thing, a lot of people wanted to hear some music that they recognised played through the RokBlok. So I didn't want to chance any of my own LPs. I found one of the Mrs. old albums from the 80s. She didn't used to look after them very well, just being a teenager, of course, throwing them about. So they've got scratches and things on here already. So I don't mind too much if this one gets damaged. And let me put this on here and we'll have a listen. So hopefully that was enough to determine how it sounds when playing something you might be familiar with. Now, I've noticed on this record there's also a ring appeared, just like before, where I played the record. You might be able to make it out there. It's a slightly matte type of area going around the centre section in a loop. And I thought this might be something I could perhaps clean off. Maybe it's off those rubber tyres, but no, it's there permanently. Oh, and just in case anyone thought I'd got the speed setting wrong again, let's have a listen to this at 45. Now, the way this propels itself around your record, there's one wheel here which hits a drive shaft on a motor, and that's the one that's driven. The other two smaller wheels are just rolling along the record. I thought we'll have a look inside just to see exactly how this all fits together. And the manufacturers of this had got in touch with me and suggested they could offer a replacement because mine wasn't functioning as it should do. I've decided not to take them up on that offer, but I thought I'll have a look inside here to see if I can figure out anything that's not quite in the right place. Maybe something's out of alignment, which is causing some of the issues that I've got. Now, I was surprised to see that the speaker in this points towards a piece of wood. There's no grill there. Now, it makes sense to have it pointing out of the top because of the Doppler effect as it moves around rather than having it point out to one side or the other. But I would have thought they'd have put a speaker grill on there, but maybe they know best. Anyway, let's have a look. We've got a little battery on here. This is a rechargeable battery. It's 350 milliamp hours, which is sufficient to do what it needs to do. And below there we've got circuit board, of course. I'll need to take some more screws out because to be able to get to the underneath of this, just to see exactly how the wheels attach to that motor, I'll have to remove the circuit board first. So a few more screws to come out yet. And once we've got those screws off the motor as well, accidentally knocked the wire off there, but you can see that's the motor with the drive shaft coming out to the end. And that then goes down and just touches on that white edge of the rubber wheel. There's nothing more complicated than that. It's just held against it once the wheel is in position, which it moves upwards once the device is placed on a record. Let's see what else we've got in here. So yeah, there's the wheel that we were talking about. So the motor just sits on top of that. It's just a friction drive mechanism. Now, I'm really not the right chap to talk you around a circuit board, but there's one thing I noticed here that did intrigue me. They'd employed a magic eye system, a transmitter and receiver in close proximity, and the signal between those two gets interrupted once the stylus has been moved out of its locked position. And just one more thing I thought I'd mention, the cartridge in this has only 3 wires coming out of it that go through that hole at the bottom and arrive at the top of the circuit board. I'm used to stereo cartridges having 4 wires coming out of them, but perhaps they're just using a common ground. From my layperson's position, it does look like there's some work gone into this, because we've got a phono preamp, an amplifier, and a Bluetooth transmitter all on this circuit board. It's just a shame the whole thing doesn't work any better, and I think that's really down to the mechanism rather than the circuitry. And despite having a look inside mine, I didn't find anything that was out of position. It seems like it's operating as it should do. Anyway, I hope this has cleared up a few questions, and that's it for the moment. As always, thanks for watching.